Hey everybody, welcome back to Home on the RNG. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Linda Bergson.
And joining us as often as we like, hopefully, nope, that didn't work. I was going to say as always, and my brain said, but what if he's not there? And then, hey everybody, welcome back to Home on the RNG. I'm Jeff.
And I'm still Linda Bergson.
And joining us is Chris.
Hello.
Today we're here to talk about something very near and dear to all of us. We're having an intervention for Russ.
Okay.
Russ, it's time we talk about your crippling JRPG addiction.
Oh, yeah. It's a little too late.
All right, then let's monetize it.
I think it's already consumed 39 years of my life. I don't think there's a lot of hope for me now.
Then let's turn it into something productive.
Okay.
Let's start a podcast.
Okay.
And let's talk about Suikoden.
Yay. Well, I don't have personal history with this game. I played it before, but I didn't play it like on the PlayStation. I didn't get a PlayStation until about a year before the PS2 came out. So I missed a lot of PS1 games and then played them later when they came to like PS1 classics on the PS3. And I think that's when I first played this game. So I don't have a fun personal history story with this, other than I looked it up and apparently it came out in 1995. And I didn't even know the PlayStation existed in 1995. I thought it was in 1996.
It is one of the first PlayStation games, and among the first PlayStation RPGs as well.
That's weird because like in 1995, I was still playing the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, we didn't pick up a PlayStation until 1997 when Final Fantasy VII came out.
How about you, Chris?
So my personal history with this game is that I'd heard of it. I saw it in a EGM or something like that, where they did a review on it. I didn't yet have a PlayStation, but I was entranced by this RPG that supposedly let you recruit over 100 characters. And one of them was a ninja. They made sure to mention the ninja.
They really did make sure to mention the ninja.
And Kage is such a small part of the... He's nothing. He's nothing in the game. Yeah. But he is a ninja, and I did recruit him, and I did use him. I picked up the game finally in my brief stint, as it was almost like a booth more than a real store, but it was a video game reselling situation. And we had copies of Suikoden and Suikoden 2, and so just for one paycheck, I picked up both of them for the astounding purse of, I think $50 for both combined.
Nice.
And I actually even...
You can get a lot more for those now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in 2002, they weren't worth anything. And in fact, later on, right before it went up a bit, because the original Suikoden wasn't worth that much, but I actually traded my old copy, which was a bit scratched. So the ending FMV and the beginning FMV had skips, which I always found a bummer. Oh. I traded them in for a practically brand new copy of the game, and I think the difference I paid was like $10, which I think I covered in another trade. So yeah, I've had great luck with obtaining these games, but I didn't even play them until 4 years later, when I was in a situation where I was at home a lot and I had nothing to do, literally nothing. I had no projects, it was just kind of not really doing anything. So I was like, at one point I was like, I'm going to try this Suikoden. And so I popped it in, I played through the entire thing in a few days, and then I immediately put in Suikoden 2 and played through it entirely. Like, ending credits of Suikoden 1 end, swap out the disc for Suikoden 2, started playing, played that all the way through the end, took out the disc, put it back in Suikoden 1, and played through it again.
Wow.
So in a couple of weeks, in really short order, in 2006, I played Suikoden 1, 2, and then 1 again, all the way through. And that's the last time I played it fully all the way through.
So I don't have a lot of personal history with this either. I heard about the game from Lauren the Flute, who Chris knows.
Yeah.
And she was our musical expert on a couple of episodes. She was a big fan of the series. And
is still.
Yes. Although she has very specific ideas about at least one of the games in the franchise she claims doesn't exist.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget. It's either like 3 or 4. She's just like, it's weird
4.
they skipped that
it's
one.
It's probably 4 with the ship.
Everyone hates 4.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to playing it myself one day so I can be the one person who doesn't hate it, because I just know I'm going to be.
So I was loading up my Vita with JRPGs, just like filling it to the brim. So I got the 2 of them for the Vita, and I played through them, and I really liked them. But I also feel like I'm kind of the target audience for this series because I love recruiting
over.
I love recruiting characters, and I love base building, and that's what this game is.
It so is.
Suikoden is loosely based on the classical Chinese novel Water Margin, developed and published by Konami.
Perfect title.
So let's go ahead and move into stories and characters. Oh, I almost forgot to. When our heroes find out that the empire they've served all of their lives is actually evil, they team up in order to keep the crystals from falling to Golbez. Wait, no. Hold on. No, but it is largely... The story of Suikoden is very straightforward and doesn't have a lot of meat to it. It's the execution that is done so very well.
Yeah.
Because the idea is your characters flee from the Empire upon learning that some shady stuff is going down. And eventually, through hijinks, you become the leader of the Resistance Army. And most of the game is building up your army and liberating the countryside and taking down this empire, which is not an uncommon plot in a JRPG. But I think Suikoden executes the concept of that better than any other one that I've played, because you really feel like you are building the resources, you are really building this actual army, and so as you go to liberate city and city, country by country, it doesn't feel like me and my 5 friends are single-handedly taking down the empire. It feels like you're legitimately gathering resources and are actually, a sweeping army across the plain. So
Yeah.
I made a joke about the story. The story is a little light, but the execution is perfect.
And you get to fight a vampire.
That is a weird
Isn't
side
that
quest.
weird?
Like, yeah, that really...
Suddenly, there's a vampire.
It's almost like a side quest, but it's actually the main narrative.
And he's also in the sequel, so it's like, what, again?
Yeah. He was so popular.
People love that vampire. Well, I mean, it's Konami, so
Yeah.
fighting vampires across
Exactly.
multiple games, the same vampire, kind of their thing.
Very true.
They do own that a little.
Tell us some about the characters, Russ.
Well, you recruit part of the game. It's a character collection game. So you
There are
recruit the
108.
108 Stars of Destiny to recruit. They aren't all playable in the sense that they all participate in battle, but still like 70 of them or something
Yeah,
can participate in
50
battle.
to 70, somewhere in there.
Something like that. And then the other ones that don't join your base, and they are like the innkeeper and a shopkeeper. One of them runs the like bathhouse.
I knew you were going for the bathhouse.
Of course, the bathhouse. What are you going to do? You can even decorate the bathhouse. And you
One
can
of
get
them, one of them is the hero's mom, Gremio.
yes. Oh, Gremio.
Oh, Gremio.
That is where. So okay. So one of the things that I liked about the main character, whose canon name I do not remember.
He hasn't had one.
Okay.
No, it's Tio, isn't it?
Well,
McDowell?
He's the dad.
Oh, it's
Teo
yeah.
is the dad.
I know.
you're the
I've seen
McDowell
his.
kid, and you're
He's recruitable in the second game if you import a save file, and he has a name.
and
there.
he has his name in there is a combination
Tyr.
of the name you gave him, and the first initial of what you gave him, and then McDowell, which is his canonical last name.
Okay.
So it's like T. McDowell or something like that.
Gotcha.
I want to say I saw a canonical name. Was it Tyr McDowell? It doesn't matter.
That
Maybe.
sounds right. I don't remember. I named them all Ren. So anyway, Ren is the thing that I like about him as a main character is that he is not especially for someone who like builds an army, he is not like a sword user in armor. He is kind of
he's
a
a
monk.
staff, yeah.
He uses
He's a
staff,
stick boy.
and he has a jaunty little bandana, and he has a little gi that he wears, and I like him. For a silent protagonist, I really like him as a main character, and I just like the fact that they didn't do like a common sword user with
They
him.
really went out of their way to make him like kind of unassuming.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I feel like they did have the like your typical heroic sword wielding kind of dude, and it's Flick, and he's a doofus.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's Gremio,
And then there's Gremio.
who is his mom, not really, but acts like his mom and is my least favorite character in this game, mainly because you can't take him out of your freaking party until he spoilers. Until he dies.
Horribly.
Yes.
Yes.
By being eaten alive.
Dissolved by fungus.
Yes. It's
the-
real terrible.
The dramatic note that they were going for with that did not work on me whatsoever. Because if you are not going to let me take this increasingly useless character out of my party and then you kill him off, my first thought is going to be, I finally don't have to have him in my party anymore.
That's one of the things I don't like about this game is your party is 6 people, which is a big party.
And that's a big party for an RPG.
But frequently, at least in like the first half of the game's like, but you must use at least these 3 or 4 characters. It's like, I have unlocked 50 characters, and you're saying I can only choose 2 of them?
Yeah.
My big beef is that they introduce the cavalcade of these really over the top, like, ridiculous bad guys, and you end up recruiting pretty much all of them, including the one that kills Gremio.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Well, you don't have to recruit them.
no, you don't have to, but you know what I mean.
But
if
you
you
know
want
you
all
want,
108
yeah.
stars for the,
Well,
But he was
who
being
really
controlled.
cares if you get all 108 stars if the prize at the end is getting Gremio back? I mean,
something
come
that
on.
can only be done once, and you get the implication that it means like once in the franchise. This is it. We can only use this magical ability
Right.
once in the history of mankind, and it's to save Gremio.
No, that's not a equivalent exchange.
You know what character is good though? Kai.
Yeah, Kai.
Kai is cheat mode, man.
My favorite character is Victor.
Oh, yeah.
Victor is great.
Victor's in my party the
Victor
whole
is
game,
wonderful.
but
I have actually in certain like lists or whatever that I've been asked to do or just ran across, they're like favorite male character in a video game, and I'm like Victor. It's always Victor. He is the manliest man, as well as just being a great character.
Yeah, he is definitely great. I also want to give shout outs to Cleo.
She's great.
Cleo
too.
is extremely useful, and she is one of your starting characters, and I never removed her from my party.
That one elf guy that makes your party walk twice as fast. God
Stallion.
bless him. Yes.
Stallion the elf.
And shout outs to Suikoden too for like putting him right in your views to where you like, oh, I need to recruit him. He's like, nah, I can't go with you. You're not fast enough. And the game not telling you that means you need to run away from fights because that makes you faster.
Yeah.
And therefore he will join you.
It's
Anyway.
clever.
According to How Long to Beat, an average playthrough is around 22 hours, which is feels a little short for a PlayStation 1 game, but it
Yeah.
was early.
Well, I was going to say that this game, when I played this game for the first time, it felt short to me
And
for an RPG.
I've understood that it was developed specifically to be part 1 to Suikoden 2's part 2. It's basically those two are a game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which is why both of them are a little on the short side.
I also got the sense, and
But that's not a bad thing to me
No.
in this day and age.
when I was playing through this for review purposes, which is, I look at these things with a more critical eye when I'm playing them for this show, I kept getting the sense that, like, this feels like it was developed for the Super Nintendo and then moved to the PlayStation. And the fact
could have been.
the fact that I did not know until this conversation that it was one of the earliest PlayStation games tells me I might have been on the money about that.
Yeah, I thought I was reading it wrong when I saw 1995 because I'm like, I swear the PS1 didn't even come out till 96.
Some of the
But
mechanics
no.
just seem very Super Nintendo era.
Yeah.
But do we have anything else for story and characters?
I mean, there's 108 characters.
Okay,
I
we're
mean,
moving.
it's like our last review with Chrono Cross. There's too many to talk about.
How many chefs do you recruit in this one? 3 or 2?
Well, you recruit the inn lady, and then you recruit one chef that assists her with cooking meals.
But there's another chef that you also, like an unrelated chef, I feel. I don't know. See, this is why we can't talk about characters
Yeah,
anymore.
I don't remember. My party, I used obviously the main character, Cleo, Victor. I liked Mina the dancer. That was me. I liked Tingar, the Native American dressed lady
you
for
didn't
magic.
want the fishing
Yikes.
boys.
I liked the fishing guy. I liked that first fishing guy that joined you.
I use Victor and Flick.
yeah,
I
Flick
use
is
Flick a lot.
Yeah,
Shout
And
outs
Kai.
also to Kage, who is a ninja, and that's all he
That's
needs
all
to
you
be.
need?
All he needs to be.
So let's go ahead and move into the combat system. Like I mentioned, you have 6 characters in your party, 3 in the front row, 3 in the back row. Each character has a different attack range, which they can either be short, medium, or long. And that can determine which row they need to be in to be able to physically hit the enemies, which means you can't 100% just pick the party you want, because if you pick all short range, the 3 in the back aren't going to be able to touch the enemies. What's really fun about this, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it, they make the combat look busy, which is great. If you give, let's say you're facing 6 enemies, and you've got your 6 characters, and you tell each of your 6 characters to attack a different enemy. Your characters will all leap out and attack, sometimes at the same time, sometimes depending on the enemy speed. Anything where your character doesn't have to wait for somebody else to attack an enemy first happens at the same time.
I really appreciate
it.
That.
It looks so cool, though, just all this leaping about and hitting all happening simultaneously.
As opposed to something like Chrono Cross, where you have a separate, you have a menu input for every single hit, and then you have to wait for the attack animation.
And then,
to
as much as I
off.
love Chrono Cross, an enemy will just interrupt your attacks right in the middle of a combo.
Exactly.
The camera also zooms in for critical hits in this game, which is just it's kind of cool. Like, not only did you get, like the smash guts attack, but you also like zoom in.
Yeah.
See those big old pixels.
Really weird status effects like balloon and bucket head.
Yeah.
Hell yes.
Just
Secret of Mana prepared us for balloon, and Mario versus Wario prepared us for Buckethead.
There are actually 3 different types of battle in this game. What we've been talking about so far is the fairly standard invisible random encounter turn-based JRPG. There's also army versus army battles. There's maybe 6 of these in the game.
These are kind of where it loses me.
I actually kind of enjoy them once I figured out how to do them really well. It is your army fighting an opposing army. It's an evolved game of rock, paper, scissors, roughly.
Yeah.
Because based on who you've recruited, you actually have squads. And these squads are specialized. If you got these 3 people, they're going to be in a magic squad together. These 3 people are an attack squad, a bow squad. And you also have people who have special powers like thieves and ninjas. And the ninjas are especially useful because you can do it. If you have all 3 ninjas, 3 times in that combat, you can just go, hey, go tell me what they're going to do next. They go and they say, all right, the next thing the enemy's going to do is this, and you know exactly how to counter that.
Yeah.
Sweet.
The downside to these battles is if you choose poorly, if you choose something where you get your ass handed to you, one of your 108 characters can die.
Permanently.
Yeah.
Permanently die.
Plot death.
Which means you can't get Grimmio back because you have to have all 108 alive.
I mean,
for
come
that to
on,
work.
who really wants Grimmio back?
The other type of combat, there are very few, when I say boss fight, the picture that it conjures in your mind, there are very few of those in this game. But there are duels. I want to say 4 or 5 duels in this game, which is, again, a form of rock, paper, scissors, but it's just a one-on-one, and your 3 options are attack, desperate attack, or defend. Attack and defend make perfect sense. A desperate attack against a defend causes a massive amount of damage to the opponent. A massive attack against an attack, you're in trouble. You've chosen poorly. Before each round, the opponent will say something, and that's you're supposed to kind of decipher from that what their next move is going to be.
Decipher by using an FAQ.
I did not touch one in this.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I never used it for either type of rock, paper, scissors battle in this playthrough, and I even won the special pawn one, which is hard to win.
Well, yeah, that is hard to win.
I lost that the first time because I didn't realize that it was going to happen. And Pawn's level, when he goes up against the bad guy, who's the protagonist's dad, I think, right?
Yeah.
Who is a bad guy. His level in that fight is the same as his level in any regular fight. So you
His
have to
equipment
make
matters,
sure,
too.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you've at least recently used him enough to get the, a million levels from one fight, which is another thing the game does that I love, but I was saving that for innovation.
Well, and I talked about how this game really sells the idea that you're building this army and actually saving the world. And it does it by using these 3 different types of battle. So it really doesn't feel like me and my 5 friends single-handedly save the world. Certain characters also have unite abilities with other characters that it makes sense for them to team up with. The 2 fishermen, for example, they team up and have a special attack.
The protagonist and Kai.
This is why I brought up Kai earlier. You can recruit Kai, who is the main character's staff instructor, basically, his sensei.
His sensei.
You can recruit Kai early in the game, or you could never recruit Kai. Him and the hero have a unite ability. It costs nothing to use a unite ability that hits every enemy on the screen for a full percentage attack.
It's delightful.
Yeah, it puts the game into easy mode. You just constantly have them do unite, and it will hit every enemy on the screen. It makes the game go real fast.
Yeah.
Game go brr. One thing that I saw, this came up a lot in my recent playthrough, and I don't remember it from the first one, but if you assigned a member of your party to heal somebody, either using an item or a spell, and the combat ends before their turn came up, they still take that heal turn.
Yeah, they do.
Which kind of sucks because the spell slots are limited for use. So, like, I would have rather just used a potion outside of combat than had you use a spell slot.
Oof.
So
I appreciate it for not making me go into a menu afterwards, regardless.
And there is one item that lets you use it as an item, it's infinitely reusable, and it heals the whole party a small amount. And that was fun. Whenever I usually had Kai throw that out when he wasn't using Unite. Just heal the... That's nice. In the combat, everybody gets a little health back. Great.
Yeah.
Perfect. I've never seen a game do that. It's like the engine must go through everybody's turn. It goes, nothing for him to hit, nothing for him to hit, nothing for... Oh, he can still heal. Heal. All right, now the fight's over.
Yeah, I don't remember that about the healing, actually. It's funny.
Yeah, it happened to me multiple... I don't remember it. My memories... Because Innovations is where we're really going to get into it. It's been a couple years since I played this for the first time. It's probably been 4 years since I played it for the first time, just for fun. And looking back, I remembered it being an awesome game. And then I played it just now, and it's a good game. It's a very good game. There are parts of it that are not good. There are parts of it that are real irritating, and I had completely forgotten those.
Yeah.
So when it comes time at the end to score the game, I'm going to give both score. Like, the good stuff is really good. The bad stuff is bad, but it's not the stuff that you'll remember. It's not the stuff that'll stick with you. So,
which is good for the people that made Suikoden.
Yeah. Did I leave anything out of combat? Is there any other combat aspect we want to talk about? Well,
I think my blood sugar is low.
Then we're going to move on to innovation.
Be sure to leave that in about my blood sugar.
I will let everybody know, Russ. Russ, would you like to describe how the crystal system works? I want to make sure you get an opportunity.
I'm good, actually. Yeah. I know, give Cleo the fire rune and then give her the water rune.
So all of your characters have a crystal slot or a rune slot, which gives... Some of them give them access to a list of magical spells. Some of them just give them special abilities. One that I think sucks is the ability to dash. If you want to be able to walk at a decent speed in this game, you have to take up a crystal slot for one of your party members to have the dash rune in there, and then the whole party can dash. Yeah, I didn't want to have my character do something useful. I needed to perform what should be a basic function of the game.
Yeah.
Well, Final Fantasy VI did it.
Final Fantasy VI has a dash button and then a relic that makes you dash even faster.
Not in the original.
Not in the original.
Okay.
No.
It's been a while since I played the original.
Only sprint shoes will cause you to walk twice as fast in the original.
But it also gave every character 2 relic slots. So it's a less of a burden than this is the only slot for this thing.
Right.
And I get 6 of them in my whole party. And some characters have crystals you can't unequip.
Some of us like to move at the normal speed and take our time and enjoy experiences.
It's so slow. They walk so slow.
Yeah, some of them do have, like, Pan has a rune that you can't remove. But also gives him an amazing attack.
And the ones that grant spell abilities, as you level up, it's Final Fantasy 1 spell slots is what it is. Yeah. As you level up, different characters unlock more spell slots.
I rarely used magic of any kind, except for Cleo.
I used a lot of healing magic. Yeah. And a lot of area of effect magic was also useful.
Yeah. I feel like the combat system moves so quickly.
Here's what really frustrates me. One of the most frustrating parts of this game is inventory management.
Yeah.
Because each character has potentially up to 5 pieces of equipment that you can equip on them, each one of which takes up an inventory slot. Each character has their own specific inventory, and there is no inventory for the group that you can pull from except back at the base if you get that character. So, anytime you want to swap out characters, you have to go back to your base, go up to the floor where the character swapping people are, talk to them and say, I want to swap out characters. Then you have to say, I want to drop people because I have a full party, and you can't just recruit people if you got a full party. Right. So I want to drop people, drop a person. All right, now I'd like to recruit a person. Go through the list of 50 names. I hope you learn the name of the one you want. Pull in that guy. Then go, oh God, I need the equipment from that other guy. So I'll go down to the inventory storage place and I'll say, hey, I remember the name out of all the 50 characters of the one I just took out of my party. Can we take all of his inventory and put it in the group pool? Great. Now I want to take that and put it on my new character. That's how you equip a character into your party.
I can't believe that the same company that came up with the inventory system for Castlevania Symphony of the Night just didn't do a great job on this one.
Even harder is, I swear this happened to me 2 times, where, okay, I have an assigned party member. I can't use all the party members I was using, but I do want to take that crystal. That was a useful crystal. Okay. Go to the party manager person. Drop a person I can move from my party. Pull in the person that has the crystal. Now I have to travel and find a city because I hadn't unlocked the crystal vendor in the castle in my base yet. Find a city that has the crystal vendor. Go in. Have them take the crystal off. Great. Now the crystal is no longer attached to the character. Go back to the base, back to the party member, swap out so I have the party member that I want, and then go back to the crystal merchant to put the crystal on the character that I'm forced to have. Oh, wait, no, when I unequipped it, it was left on the other character. Go back to the base, do the inventory management to get the crystal into the slot, back to the town, equip the crystal on the character. You could spend hours of this 22-hour playthrough doing inventory management because it has to be handled at specific locations throughout the game.
I lost consciousness while you were explaining that.
It was very frustrating.
Yeah.
Eventually, you get a teleport item that lets you just teleport to your base from wherever and then teleport from your base to any town. That speeds things up a lot. But even then, having to always go to the 4th floor. Okay, wait, the party swapping is on the 3rd floor. Okay, I got to go to the 3rd floor and talk to them. Nope, shoot, it is on the 4th floor. Go up to the 4th floor. Having to go to specific locations in the game to perform functions of inventory and party management is very frustrating.
I can tell. You seem real fired up about this. Do you
to share.
Do you need some chamomile?
You can only save your game at ends, which feels that's one of those things that feels more Super Nintendo than PlayStation 1.
Seventh Saga.
Because it actually took me a while to figure out what ends, like I couldn't save the game. I was just walking around playing the game. I don't use ends that often. I'm like, I need to save this game. How do I save this game?
I thought there was one character in your base that could save your game.
It's something. The lady who runs the inn.
Yeah, okay.
Marie,
thank you.
This is the only JRPG I've ever encountered where after the boss fight, as the base is destructing or whatever's going on and you're fleeing, you can still get into random encounters. There are random encounters after the final boss fight.
Final Fantasy VI, when you're escaping the
From
floating
Kefka's?
continent, yeah.
Oh,
and when you're fleeing the house with the little boy in it, and you're on a timer, and there's still random encounters.
In boss of the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You meant the whole end boss.
Yes.
Yeah, that whole end game was like crazy.
Specifically, the end boss of the game. Like, that's it. I beat the game. I beat Suikoden. I went. Oh, wait. No. Several random encounters still.
Yeah.
Okay. Kai.
I mean,
go.
Not all of the monsters just pack their bags and go home because the big boss is destroyed.
So I feel like I've been passionately saying that this game is horrible, and I'm not. Because when I went to replay it for this review, I had completely forgotten about the party and inventory management. Those are not the parts of the game that I remembered. Those were not the parts of the game that stuck
You blocked
with me.
out trauma. There's nothing wrong with that.
Do either of you have any innovations you would like to talk about?
I think you
No.
have nailed it.
I will say, because we talked about recruitable party members. Most of them have specific requirements you have to meet to unlock them, to recruit them.
Yes. And some of them tell you, some of them do not.
Some of them give you hints. I mean, you have to know where they are. It would be very hard to get all 108 without a guide.
Yeah.
I managed to get 106. I missed 2 of them, and they were missable, so I couldn't go back.
The first time I played the game, I got 107. I was using a guide, though. There's one guy who won't join you unless you're level 40. And I saw him, talked to him, and then forgot all about him. By the time I was 40, I never went back.
That happens. I'm going to say my innovation that I would point out is I like the catch-up leveling system. That experience scales, and so a character can gain 10 levels from a single regular battle if they're that far behind. And love that for a game with so many characters.
Yeah.
It still has a leveling system.
It's a great catch-up system.
Trails also does that.
Nice.
And it's great.
It also kind of prevents you from over-grinding, because if you're trying to grind in a certain area, eventually you're getting like 2 XP.
The well dries up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
A lot of the recruitable characters that don't join your potential fighters list do things like you can collect different message box styles. So, I want the box to be green. Let me go talk to the person who controls the color of the boxes.
It's 108 people. They did definitely run out of ideas for what everyone
Let me
can
change
do.
the sound effects for the menu, but first you have to find the sound effects and then give them to the sound effect guy, and then he can...
Yep.
There's paint items that you can find, and you give them to a painter, and he paints a mural for which you get nothing.
You get a mural.
There is there is a lot in this game that's just completionist that means nothing.
You can get vases and have them appraised and then decorate your bathhouse.
Yeah, and there's no reward for it, which I found very interesting. There's a lot of this
The
game
reward
that's just for the
is
fun of it.
the reward is the atmosphere.
It really, it's Animal Crossing style. It's just it's non-reward.
I mean, if it was made today, there'd probably be achievements for these things.
Oof.
What are achievements?
PlayStation.
Another thing that I want to say about that's maybe innovative about the story is that I like how thoroughly it is like, this is part 1, stay tuned for part 2. They leave in the ending, and spoilers, whatever, but they leave the fate of Flick and Victor, who are 2 of the earliest adult characters you get in the game. They leave their fate to question marks, because they stay behind to fight off the enemy horde while your other characters escape.
Yeah, which also, I like that as a story mechanic, but it's also interesting that I beat the game, I'm fleeing, I'm getting into random encounters, and you're taking away party members.
Yeah, and you're like, we'll stay behind and handle these guys, you can't handle them. And we're like, what?
I just killed a 3-headed dragon, dude!
Yeah. That was just kind of dropped in, speaking of surprise bosses, but I guess we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
In a later episode,
Yes,
whatever.
that was definitely a surprise boss.
Yeah.
Because the person who you think is the main villain that you're going to fight, Wendy, her end is very much a surprise, because you're like, I'm totally going to take down this bitch. No, you're not. You're not your problem.
Yeah.
Not your circus, not your monkeys.
Nice.
Anyway, let's go ahead and move into music.
Suikoden is amazing for music. This PlayStation thing was nice and new. CD audio. I mean, we had CD audio in the past, but they really were like, let's just throw everything we got at this. So they got 5 people for the composition of the soundtrack to this. I'm just going to go over their names right quick, but one of them is going to stand out the most. That's going to be Miki Higashino, who is a Gradius composer, worked on the NES Ninja Turtles, but also is like kind of the main composer, I think, of Suikoden 1 and 2, without Wikipedia being in front of me here. But then the other composers are Tapi Iwase, Hiroshi Tamawari, Hirofumi Taniguchi, and Mayuko Kageshita, who all worked on various Konami things. And I think Jeff probably wants me to mention that Mayuko Kageshita also worked on Sexy Parodius, which is a well-known game to shmup fans, but apparently Jeff didn't know about it.
No, I'd never heard it. I just saw this. I had to find out what this game is.
Yeah, the Parodius games are great. I wish they would bring them to the West, honestly, because they still... I think there may be one on Switch now, but I can't... Don't quote me on that. But yeah, these are 5 very accomplished and great Konami composers. The themes in the game, because it's based on a Chinese story, like they very much went for this pastiche of like a kind of traditional Chinese sound for a lot of the things. You'll hear it in the town themes. You'll hear that little jingle when you get a new party member.
Yeah,
that.
It had a Middle Eastern flair. Like I expected Mina and Mina from Dragon Quest IV to come dancing.
Mina and Mina. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And town themes are like that, but this being a Konami game, they also throw in like some really cool, like groovy bass lines. Like the town of Rockslide, I remember had a great theme to it. I don't remember if that theme is shared between many other towns, but I spent a lot of time in Rockslide because that's where you play the gambling game against that grandmother who you just completely fleece for everything she's worth, because that gambling game is so easy. But anyways. So yeah, the standout greatest theme of this game to me is called Distant Mountain. It is the music that comes in whenever you are climbing a mountain. You don't get to hear it unless you keep your character standing still for like 3 full minutes. Yeah, it's like when you go to the mountain and it comes in with this flute, and then this flute just does this like boppy, like kind of groovy tune. And then a second flute joins in, and then guitar, and then bass, and then this drum, this hand drum that's just awesome. I don't know what this sounds
I'm sorry,
like.
Is there a ghost?
There is something making some
My
bleep
phone
bloop
is
noises.
silent.
Mine is too, and so is Chris's.
Yeah, it's just coming from the other room, I guess.
Yeah, it's got to be picking it up from another room.
Oh, well.
So we're just going to power through.
It's Zoe.
But yeah, if you listen to any track like in isolation from the original Suikoden, I would recommend Distant Mountain. It is a fantastic piece of music. It's among my top like 20, maybe even 10 of video game songs from any video game. So love that tune. It is so good. So check. And funny enough, they have all that, but then when you get to the overworld, which you actually don't see super often walking around, it is just like a traditional JRPG type thing.
That was music on compact disc.
So let's go ahead and move on to final thoughts.
I could probably use a cracker right now.
Is that your final thought?
This is why I've been so this whole review. I'm like, I'm declining. But anyway, okay. So I'm going to give this game 4 satisfying Gremio deaths out of 5. I really liked it when Gremio died. No, I do really like this game. I like the second one even more. Can't wait till we review that. But like Chris said, these are intended to be played as a pair. So no, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the unassuming hero, as I've said before. I enjoyed really feeling like you're building an army, and it's not just a group of 5 teenagers saving the whole world. Yeah, definitely a good game.
Yeah, this is like absolutely my favorite non-Final Fantasy RPG. No, there's Dragon Quest VII. Scratch that. This is a great game that I played twice in rapid succession and have started a couple other times. I'm probably going to go home and start playing it again.
Just from talking about it?
Just from talking about it. Yeah, it's a great, lush experience, very colorful. Funny enough, it was the first time I ever upgraded the cables on my video game system so I could get better colors. Just because I was like, I want to see this even better. You know, because 2006, nobody cared. HD TV wasn't really as much a thing at that point. But anyways, yeah, so this is a great game that really stood out to me. Probably should have played it in 2002 when I first bought it, but I mean, even though I waited a while, it's nothing compared to how long I waited after that, so there you go.
So here's what's interesting. I want to share what's in my notes and then what's in my mind, because as my notes say, if you had asked me before I played it again for review, I would have said it was an A or an A- game. I played it for review about a month ago. And I wrote here that the good heavily outweighs the bad, even though my frustrations with the party and inventory management. Fresh off of playing it, I'll give it a B+. As I'm sitting here remembering playing the game, B+ seems way too low. And I want to... As soon as I step away from the game, it automatically earns like 5 points in my mind. Because fresh out of the game, I was still feeling some of those frustrations. And I was like, this is a B- or a B+ game. And now that I'm a month away from it, I'm like, no, that was a great game. That was an A-. That was an A. So I'll give it the A-. Sure, ultimately. The real takeaway is it's a game that will stick with you as being a great game. So even if you experience some frustrations in the moment, stick with it. You will thank yourself for it. Russ, if they want to play Suikoden,
then you should probably get your Vita out from storage. It's probably the best situation that I can recommend for you.
Yeah.
It's still not super expensive to actually purchase the PlayStation discs, but I'm going to check that for sure.
Yeah, I feel like I should have researched. I know the new, I don't think it's on it yet, but the new PlayStation Network tiers came out, and I don't think Suikoden is on
I don't think
yet.
it is either. I'm
Wild
on like
Arms is
the
but
max
I don't
tier, but I don't think Suikoden's on
is.
there. So next time we will be playing and discussing
and making a rap video about.
Next time we'll talk about Trials of Mana.
Yay!
Ugh, never mind. It is still expensive. It's like over $100 now. Forget what I said.
So get out your Vita.
Get
people.
out your get a Vita.
Find your Vita.
Find a Vita. Anyway,
not a Vita, but a Vita.
Thank you guys very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Goodbye from home on the RNG.
Bye-bye.
Home on the RNG is a presentation of Mad Centaur Productions. You can find Jeff on YouTube at youtube.com/Centaur Productions or on Twitter at JeffCentaur. You can find Russ on Twitter at RussMac25. You can find Chris on Twitch at twitch.tv/LiarExaggerate or on Twitter at EnrichFlavor. Thank you for listening, and remember to save your game before powering off this podcast.